Oh, there it is. There it is.
I was enjoying that intro beat. That intro
Yeah,
was tough.
I was really down for the intro, man.
I'm super excited to have both of you here. I think life is wild sometimes, but it put us all in this room, and I'm super excited. Cash, thank you for being here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
And Nate, thank you for stepping on as co-host.
For sure, my man. You know I'm always down for the cause.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
This is gonna be a good time.
Definitely.
For sure.
Cash, make sure you're talking directly into that right there.
I got you.
So people can hear. Can you hear yourself okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear myself good.
Cool. I'll turn you up a little bit though.
Cool.
So Cash, let's talk about you a little bit. You've been bartending for how long now?
Man, so just recently in August, it would have been a full circle year. Yeah, would have been a year in August, which is kind of crazy because I'm 21 and it's been an insane start and a hectic first year of bartending for sure.
What's made it so hectic for you?
I think just the fact of like where things like kind of started from and just like everything that's been going on. So I've been presented with like a lot of different like opportunities and variables and been able to team up and collab with like lots of crazy people. And like, I mean, even being in this room right now, like still at my age feels surreal. So it's pretty cool. It's pushed me to a lot of different cities too.
Yeah, that's great. You got something coming up soon, right?
I do have something coming up soon. We just finished with speed rails, kind of letting that not necessarily die down, but take a pause for a break for a little bit, which funny enough, that's actually how I met Nate and somewhat sort of you too. But yeah, I got Portland Cocktail Week coming up and going out there with a buddy of mine that won the Core 43 competition. Shout out Cocktail Complex on Instagram. Yeah, so that'll be a blast, man. Pretty excited to go out there and kind of see what Portland looks like.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, you know, you just said that you're 21, been bartending, you know, what, for full time for a full year now?
Yeah.
So that means that you might have been, you know, in the bar before you were 21. How's that been being like under the drinking age, actually serving people alcohol?
It's actually really funny and crazy that you say that because when I first got into it, like I was an EMT before, so first responder. As soon as I like came out of high school, got into college, and was like, okay, this shit's just like kind of not for me. I was like, this just doesn't work. It's not really what I want to be doing. I was tired of school, and then I kind of just like got into EMS because it was something that my brother-in-law had done for a super long time, and you know. The more I did it, the more I started to realize like it's really not like as positive for me as it is for most people, which I do definitely want to shed a light for like EMTs and like first responders, fire people. Like they're great. They do so much for our community.
Yeah.
Love that. But like some places you just don't fit. And it felt like I was following in footsteps that weren't exactly mine. And I just needed something to like break me out and like have more personality doing. So with that being said, I kind of leaned more into like construction, which is just like so weird because I was like, okay, like I want to do something different. And then after doing construction for so long, I end up like finding myself in a place of where I'm like, okay, this also sucks, but it sucks in a different way because it's just so physically demanding. The hours are terrible. And it's one of those things where like, we got to have people that do it. But once again, I was just like, okay, but do I kind of like love this or want to be doing this the rest of my life? No, not exactly. So it ended up pushing me. Like I'd moved out to Tyler for a year, like after I graduated, which is in East Texas. If you don't know where Tyler is, my sister and like that's where I was born. My family, like, still have a lot of family out there. So I was out there for a good little amount of time, and then jumped back out to Lubbock, which is where I'm from, where I went to like school at. I went to school in Littlefield, which is like 30 minutes west of Lubbock, kind of like closer to the line of New Mexico and Texas. And, you know, just jumped head on into serving at a little Mexican restaurant out there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then from there, it was just kind of go. And I saw that I'd wanted to like do more within the restaurant because I was doing really good and pumping out, like we do a sales competition every month where if you got the most sales on this certain thing, then you would kind of like, it's called a community spotlight is what it was. So if you got the most sales on a certain plate, then you like got to present this check to this like organization, almost like charity, like local charity community thing, which is really cool that we were doing that. They still do it. Shout out Picosos and some of the great people that work there. But they still do it anyways. And I was like, man, like the bar looks cool. I kind of want to get involved in that. And so as pushy as I was with it, it was one of those kind of things where I was just like, I couldn't find a way to get myself back there. I was so like obsessed with the menu stuff, and I really liked what was going on to the point of where I was like, okay, I'm not in school now. I'm not doing anything else. I've kind of weirdly found myself obsessed with bartending at like 19 to 20 years old. And I feel like I don't have a foot in the door there.
Right.
So the way restaurants work, at least, like I know you could probably attest to this too, and I'm sure you can as well. You guys know there's kind of like a line that you wait in. Like if you're a server, if you want to move up to bartender,
Sure.
like you got to start from the bottom. You
Sure.
got to start from the bottom. It doesn't matter if you go from like host to server, or if you go from buster to host, or from server to bartender.
Yeah.
So it was one of those kind of things where I was like, man, I'm not in school, but like I don't want to wait in this line, because the line they had there was like at least a year out. Like, I mean, and that for West Texas, I mean, makes pretty good sense. It's a college town. Lots of people are working in the like restaurant industry, but there's not really a service industry love out there either. Like these bigger cities like Dallas, Houston, Austin, like there's no service industry love. Like you can't really feel it. And out there, it was just kind of like I had to push my way in with the bartenders and just be like, okay, I'm going to make friends with them, whether they kind of like me or not,
Right.
until I'm busting out the Exacto pour. And like, if you know what the Exacto pour is, it's the little white box that's got like the chart on it with the little measuring cups in it. It's 1, 2, 3 of them. You pour into your shaker just to kind of like figure out your count. And then from there, you pour in and see if your counts are good.
Hey, that's a bartender's worst enemy right there. A
a-
bad bartender's worst
It's a
enemy.
bad bartender's worst enemy. But it was one of those things that like I just jumped on them and I was like, hey, let me get the Exacto pour. Let me get the Exacto pour. Let me get the bottle. Let me get the bottle. I was going after it all the time. I was like, every time that I would see another server rolling silverware and the lunch break had died or the dinner rush had died, I wasn't even cleaning the fucking restaurant anymore, dude. I was like, let me get behind the bar and pour the water from here to the shaker. Like that's all I wanted to do. And I was just like, I'm learning the menu at the same time. And so eventually they're like, okay, like we see that you're doing that and we appreciate that you're like so down to learn for it. But at the same time, you know, we've said we have a line, like it's really not going to happen. So had to do what every good bartender goes and does. I went and lied on an application.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's one of those bad boys that you just got to pick up and just roll with the flow sometime.
And where did you do this?
So this was at Picoso's. The next place, bleep. We're gonna bleep this one. But we're gonna bleep that for sure.
You don't have to say bleep. I'll already take care of it. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
You're good. You don't have to.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
Okay. Yeah.
There ain't nothing wrong to faking it till you make it, though.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you got to do that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So to keep that rolling, it was one of those places where just like, man, it was just a shitter. But at the same time, the people there were like, they had the right look for me and it was good. But I don't know. It was just like, I just lied on the application and then like dove head in and then they were like, okay, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. I was in a service well on Friday, Saturday night making espresso. These are criminal espresso martinis, what I was doing, bro. I was doing like, you're not even ready, like vodka, coffee, milk, like shaken, like just criminal espresso martini right there. Or like making a cosmopolitan with like, I mean, vodka, cran, lime, like nothing else. Like these are just terrible drinks that I'm out here making. And so they kind of like saw in me that like, hey, at least this dude wants to try. And they pushed for me to like just seriously learn more and grow more there. And from there on out, like kind of dropping that and then like backing away from I got really blessed to go spend this time out in London. And that was kind of the next step. The next step was really me getting to go spend time out in London. And when I talk about that with the highest respect. I had never been out of the country before. And so going out of the country was just like, it was already a huge mindfuck to me. But getting out of the country and going somewhere like London is like, when you're a bartender, it just is so surreal, especially when you don't really know much, but you want to learn much. It's the most unreal feeling ever. And getting down and just being out there was like crazy. It's almost hard to put into words, but I met so many good people out there and was able to learn and pick up off so many good people. A lot of people know me as like this flair bartender. They're like, oh, every bar he goes into, he flares. Like oh, that dude's definitely flipping bottles somewhere. Like, oh, let's go see Cash tonight. And I mean, I pride myself on it, like, to an extent, but it's also one of those things that I've learned and picked up on. Like, not everybody wants that in their bar, and you also have to know where to do it and where not to do it.
Sure.
Because one of my absolute best mentors, definitely, like, I mean, I didn't even get to work with him that much, but he just spit so much love and sauce on me during the time I was in Dallas. His name's Chase. He's the main man at High Fives down there in Knox and Henderson, and great dude. He was a flair guy too, and I remember, like, this is probably one of my, like, better stories that I have. Like, I remember going in. They do this bar wars out there at the Whippersnapper, which is like right next door to High Fives. Chase does them both. Like, that's both of his bars. Like, that's his stuff, man. And so they do the bar wars out there. Well, I go into bar wars one night to go watch my buddy Marcus from Speed Rails, who had previously beat me, and we're really good friends now. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go show love to Marcus while I'm in town. And this is like the Speed Rails era. We'll get to it. I'll touch more on it later. But, like, I'm driving back and forth from Lubbock to Dallas right now, like, every week, just to, like, be out here and pull up in the bar scene and just be there. And so it was kind of one of those things where, like, the flair was, like, I was so obsessed with it that I, like, got back behind the bar with Chase after he was like, hey, come make me 3 green tea shots, because we were talking. And I made them, and, like, I'm like, okay, like, he just offered me to come do it because we were just chopping it up. I didn't even know he was the guy at the bar. Like, I didn't realize he ran the place. And so I'm like, oh, I could flare better than you. And I just got, like, absolutely big dogged because I jumped behind the bar. He's like, make me 2 green tea shots. That's all he asked for. And I went back there and, like, I mean, it looked decent, but when he got back there, it looked phenomenal. It looked like he'd been flaring for 25 years.
Yeah, but it's
like,
also his spot. He's comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
He already made it his own, so he's going to look good back there either way.
Yeah, that's fair. But there's just, like, a smoothness to it that, like, when you've like worked with a lot of people, like, there's, like, you could tell there's a smoothness. And, like, I'm 21. I don't have the smoothness that somebody of 10 years might have doing it. But I mean, I'm still pretty solid. Yeah. Like, I definitely won't bring myself down about it. But I mean, he just got back there and I was like, okay, damn, this is good. Like, you know, he just kind of humbled me a little bit. And then he's like, from there, it was like, these opportunities are coming up. And he's like, hey, you know what? Why don't you come, like, pull a guest shift here? And I was like, dude, like, I'm so down. Like, I'm not working, like, tons of places. But my first guest shift in Dallas was with my buddy Nick at Shakerton's. Shout out Nick. He's running Pop-Up Market D-Tex right now, and, like, that's absolutely crushing, and he's just killing it with that. I'll give another little shout out to Dallas with my boy Wedo out there, and just, like, so much love for the Dallas people, man. Getting integrated through Speed Rails and, like, doing all that was, like, such a great time. But let me touch back on London with like, going back off the flare. So, like, I spent my time out in London, and it was really good.
How long were you there for, by the way?
I was there for about 3 months. Okay. So it was like, I left in September, came back in November, and it was like, it's the craziest thing in the world. Like, I got to go to one of the top 50 bars. It's, like, on the top 50 bar list, and I'm not going to say which bar it was, but I was like, I didn't get it yet. So I was, like, extremely unimpressed at the time. But now looking back, now that I have this, like, view on things, it's, like, a little bit different that gets to, like, there's places that aren't going to be exactly your, like, standard dive bar, and there's places that aren't going to be your, like, for example, like, Roosevelt Room here in Austin. Roosevelt Room, like, bangs out crazy craft cocktails, and they go, like, throughout the year. And then they have a tiki menu, and they have all these, like, different, like, sides to the menu where they touch on all these different, like, timeless classics that are just, like, so beautiful and so well orchestrated by people who have, like, just absolutely busted their ass to make it that way. But when I was out there, like, I was just like, this place doesn't seem like that at all. Like, the water's great here, but, like, what am I getting, like, out of the experience? But now when I turn around and look at it, because maybe the drink I ordered blew that night, I turn back and look at, like, the bar and what it was. I'm just like, damn, okay, I kind of see it now. Like it was supposed to be a more like modern artistic view on something that just like nobody else is doing.
Right.
Which that now looking back is kind of somewhat the name of the game in owning a bar in the industry right now.
Yeah.
You have to be so different and so like so different and just you just have to really crush what your concept is or what you want it to be because I feel like you one have to really believe in your concept to get it where it needs to be, but two, like you have to have a super like approachable thing. If you have something that's more approachable, you're going to bring more people in. And when you bring more people in, these people are going to tell their people. And then like it's just a rolling ball that just continues to build. And then these people are like, oh my God, like look at this place. Like it's super crazy and hectic and there's nobody else doing anything like it. And then you've smashed off the wall.
So what would your concept be if you had one right now? Say you had investors that were ready to just give you the keys to your own place. What would you do?
If I had investors that were ready to give me the key to my own place, I am super heavy on like, don't get me wrong, I love the modern classics like Sam Ross and the Paper Plane and stuff like that. Like, I'm super down for like all the modern stuff, but like, I would definitely want to do something like kick it more 90s because I feel like that's something that like hasn't blown up yet. That's something that I think would be really cool. I'd be down to do something with that. I really like what floppy disk does with like the horror vibes, but I feel like it could be elevated a little bit more. Not necessarily there. I think they do a great job with what they do there.
Right.
But I think it's if I were to have a concept, I'd do something similar, but just like bang it out on like more of a like straightforward towards the movies level. But dodging copyright as much as you can, right?
Okay. So would you still take like the craft approach, or would this be more like a speed dive approach? Because I know the craft and the speed side is very, very different, especially here in Austin, as far as like the value goes and the perception.
Yeah, that's super true. I think I would definitely take more of the craft side, but I don't know if it's one of those things that it's hard to pick the place to open it too, right? Because I feel like I've kind of got like it depends on where the investors are, right? So I feel like I've kind of got like a little bit of a culture built in Dallas. I've got a little bit of a culture built in Houston and really starting to build one here because I'm at Greenlight Social now here in Austin. And that's my full time. That's my baby right now at Benny's room back there. You should come see me. I'm typically there on Thursdays. And then throughout the rest of the weekend, I'll be banging out one-on-ones at Greenlight. Love it though.
Hey, pull up on cash.
Pull up on cash for sure. Shout out Austin, Maddox, Dev, all the good people there, the barbacks, security team, VIP.
Shout out to Deuce King, by the way.
Shout out to Deuce King.
Absolutely.
That's shout
my
out
guy.
Deuce. Love Deuce.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I were to have a concept right now, man, I would just roll the ball with like something like go for the scary lines or like maybe even hit the I love tiki. I'm just I'm a slut for tiki drinks. I really am. Funny enough, like I didn't meet Nate when I was out here on my birthday at the beginning of the year, but I came out here in March, and it's so funny how like life works. And I'm a believer in God too, so I'm pretty Christian. It's really crazy. I was out here and I was just like, man, like I want to go to these tiki bars. So I went to Tiki Tatsuya, and that like kind of like helped sprout the idea for like what I wanted a tiki bar to be in the future. And like just looking at it, it was really cool, like being there. It's super immersive space. If you're in Austin, I recommend you go check it out. And then I went to Zanzi, and that's kind of like the other place that I was just like, okay, the tiki scene is like, I mean, it's cool. And by then I still really didn't have as much of a full grip on cocktails because everything in this past year has been so much learning for me. Like, I feel like I'm just digesting so much because I've kind of rolled through Dallas and digested so much learning there. And then Houston digested like quite a bit of learning there by not even being there a ton, but just the people I talked to out there. Shout out Henry, John, Clarissa, Bronson, Adonis, FAO, Casey, everybody out there. Just huge shout outs to Houston as a whole. If I didn't mention you, I'm sorry. I love you. Matt Pierce, the GOAT photographer.
Shout out Speed Rails, man.
Shout out
the
Speed
whole
Rails, man.
team.
We're just going to have to run a little part on Speed Rails. But yeah, I mean, it's just super crazy how life works. But I was out there for my birthday, and we dropped like a $200 tab, and I didn't even know Nate yet. And I'm like, man, eventually I'm going to find myself in Austin. And I didn't expect it to happen this year, but that's just kind of how things go.
Yeah.
It's like it's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah.
And so here we are now, and like I couldn't be happier. I love it. It's been
awesome.
really good to me. And a big part of that too is like I say now is a good time to like really start touching on speed rails, because I mean that's kind of where we're going with it. So it's like basically my path as far as bartending went kind of closed off at as far as Lubbock goes for me with the last place, which super blessed to have been a general manager at 20. If you
Sure.
This is a really crazy world, man. I just see so many nuts things out there. And Lubbock's more of a college town, but I was running an EDM nightclub called Kong's. And Kong's was like the hit spot for just like, we're going to dance, we're going to get really fucked up, but before that, we're going to take a lot of drugs before we go. Like, I mean, I knew nobody was coming in with anything most of the time, but like, I mean, people were coming in on something, I'm sure. But it's just, it's really crazy how the college like town like side of bartending works, because it's really laid back and different. You can kind of do what the fuck you want. And there was times that was a good thing and times that was a bad thing, because I saw a lot of crazy shit happen, and I was involved with like some really good people too that I would like have to watch them go through like the worst thing I've ever seen, and a bunch of us losing our jobs. And that ended up being like something that like really blew for me and all of my coworkers, which shout out Ava for sure. Ava was like my goat there, and I just absolutely love Ava to death. Ava's one of the best people I've ever met. And she plays a big part in this whole journey for me too, because I mean, that was a place for me to sleep in Dallas while I was just like hopping around trying to continue to make this bar stuff work up until the point where I got here. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm still trying to make it work, and I'm not where I want to be at yet, but we're going to get there. Like, it's going to happen.
Oh, you will, for sure.
I promise it'll get there. But shout out Ava. Ava was my AGM at Kong's, and she was just one of the best people ever. We ended up losing the job there because the owners got some like crazy stuff going on, and we ended up getting a property code. If you know anything about Texas property code, you can't tamper with a roof that you are renting on unless you have a contractor. Just putting that out there for all my bar managers, GMs, to like, if you don't know that, you should probably know that. You cannot tamper with your building. If you do not own your building, you have to contract someone out if you're leasing. I didn't have anything to do with that personally myself, but other people did. And it's one of those things where like, hey man, you're costing everybody else their job because you want to be selfish and cheap and greedy. And it kind of sucks, man. Like, and now he's not doing too hot, and the rest of us are kind of like still in a rebuilding phase. And like, I feel like that's another thing for like a lot of bartenders is like, we go through so much with like owners and management, and like, we already have to deal with the customers sometimes and the work that comes with it. And then some of us don't even get to have much of a home life all the time, where it's like, you've got so much going on. Like, you have to be able to take breaks for yourself too.
It's a stressful industry. But let's go back a little bit. You're talking about the trials and the tribulations, going to these jobs, them closing down due to things that are out of your control. You've been from Lubbock to Dallas to Austin. What's keeping you motivated, man? Because like, you're 21. That means all of this stuff has happened prior to this point, meaning that like, you're young and dedicated. What's keeping you motivated to even be in this seat today?
I would say what keeps me like super, super motivated is, I mean, not necessarily like just me, like, because I feel like there's just that part of me that's like, there is no option. Like, there is no option but to make it. And that's just like how strongly and badly I want this. And just like, I would honestly say the 2-3 biggest things that keep me motivated is, we're going to go down the list here. We're going to go God, number one.
Absolutely.
That keeps me motivated at the forefront the most. Keeping God in my life. And then second of all is my family. I got a mom at home that's got cancer right now. She's going through chemo, but she is literally about to be a month away from remission, and just found this out this week. So
God bless.
Super
God bless.
excited about that.
Yeah.
Super great. And my other mother at home too, love them to death. And my little brother and sister, like, my sister's older, but like, just my family, like, I stay talking to them and try and stay as connected with them as I could possibly be. That keeps me going. But I would say the third and like most meaningful one to me, like, I mean, the family stuff is like meaningful on a more personal level, and then like God is like up there at the top, right? But I feel like what really motivates me is the word no. The word no motivates me probably the most. And then just like, I'm 21. I've kind of learned that within this industry, people don't always like that. It's one of those kind of things where like, I'll go into a bar and I don't always walk in like I'm the shit. I really try like to go in there and like kind of like, what I do is I like to go in a place and feel it out. I like to figure out how they work and then like kind of work my way around that and then like kind of incorporate my own style in a respectful way where it's still bringing them good business and bringing like a good light to me, but keeping a consistency with other bartenders.
Yeah.
But like where I could still build my own platform there, right? Because that's what it's all about in the name of like the independent game. Because if I want to be doing this for life, I got to be at a spot that I feel like showcases me in a good light. And so I feel like it's just one of those kind of things where like I just run with it, man. Just go, go, go.
Is that what making it is for you, to have like your own platform and to have be respected by your craft?
Yes and no. I feel like what making it really would be for me is like I want to work with the best of the best and the highest of the highest. That's like I want to, as long as I feel like I make it a little bit more every day, honestly.
Yeah.
Because as long as I'm continuously getting better, and then I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to be like 200, 300,000 followers deep, but I feel like it's not even necessarily about that. I want to be the dude that left like a long-term imprint on the bar industry in a way that was more like, maybe, and I've said this before, like more technical. Like I want it to be like something I did in the bar that changes the way the bar works, or something I did that's like always remembered at a place. Like whether I opened a place that's a staple 200 years from now when I'm dead and gone and my children's children are running it, that would be amazing. Because I mean, that's kind of what I feel like Dead Rabbit in New York City is built, right? Is they're going to be that place that like, even when all the Dead Rabbit people now are gone, Dead Rabbit will still be around.
Right.
And I mean, same with like a lot of these liquor industry brands, like they're going to go on forever no matter who dies or who goes out the way. Like a lot of them will be that way forever. Like, and I don't even feel like it's a forever remembrance thing as much as it would be is just like it just bettered other people along the way, but down the road, like it just sets other people up for success. Like I'm a big like, I don't know what the right word for it is, but like I'm super big on like setting other people up for success.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the guy that making it for me would be, I mean, buying my parents a new house, paying off medical debt. Yeah. Making it for me would be making sure everyone around me is taken care of, and then myself. Because I feel like that's also kind of what this business is to me, is like making sure you're taking care of other people, right? I mean, that's really what hospitality boils down to at the end of the day. Yeah. I got into this because I'm a people person. I got into it because I like taking care of others, serving others before myself. And I mean, I even feel like that partially comes from a Christian background for me. Not saying that that is for everybody, but sure. Like it definitely like helps. For sure. I like taking care of other people first.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think you're going to do some great things.
Already doing some great things, man. I'm seeing like the venture I got going on, seeing all of the bars you're popping into, and it's just it's a true testament to what you're doing here.
Yeah, I really love it. I couldn't be happier, and it's thanks to like people's like the Speed Rails organization is just so like that has super helped out in a tremendous way. Like being able to, I mean, even how that kind of happened is crazy. Like I kind of started off, it was after Kongs had closed. It was like a couple days later, I get this Insta DM from this bartender 2 CEO guy. And I'm like, why is this dude texting me? And he's like got the verified check mark and 38,000 followers. He's like, hey, do you still want to do speed roast? I'm like, oh yeah, I did put an application in for that like a couple months ago. But I was like, oh damn, bro, I've been off the sticks for a minute. I was like, I might suck when I pull up. Like I haven't been bartending for like a couple of like weeks now maybe. So I was like, shoot, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was going to run it solo. And then I go down there, I do the interviews, meet the people, got to hang out with Matt and John for a day. And it was really cool. A lot of good like conversation and building up there. It was like, I was like, okay, like I'm super down to do this. And then like, they kind of started pushing me more towards the like, you should move to Dallas. You should move to Dallas. You should move to Dallas. And I was like, like we'll see. And so as speed rows like started approaching, he's like, and you should get a team. You should get a team. You should get a team. I'm like, man, like, I feel like I'm doing too much already. Like, I feel like I just need to like kind of easily put my foot in the door. And so I ended up bringing Ava, who was with me at Kongs, and just like great friend of mine. And I ended up meeting this dude at Parliament, Jared Beal. And Jared is like, when I think of Dallas goats, I mean, he is like up there at the very top for me. He's done everything you could do. Works in what I would say, in my opinion, is the best and most visited cocktail bar in Dallas, probably, at Parliament. And just love that for him. Like, he's just such a great dude and so respected. He's been doing great things. He was in Bar Boss. He's just a killer. I mean, there's not a drink that you couldn't ask him to make that he couldn't make.
Right.
And he can really do it all. So getting him on my team and making the initial connection with him at Parliament was like, and that was before Speed Rolls, sort of. Like, we kind of just like met and talked on one of the days that I went in, and like Speed Rolls was kind of cooking yet, but like we just ended up chopping it up. And then he was super down for like, hey bro, like, you know what? I'd run a team with you just after the way we talked. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And then we did it and ended up losing my solo, like I said, to Marcus, and at Rebirth Marks on Instagram. Fuck that guy. Nah, I'm just kidding. Much love for Marcus, bro. It was one of those kind of things where I was like, damn, bro. And I'm like, I'm so passionate about the bartending side of stuff that I'm like bawling my eyes out. Like, sometimes I'm like, I make it deeper than it is sometimes, because I just like, I'm so passionate and care about it so much. But I ended up having my dude Henry there that night, and like a couple more people that are just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you're not even done. Like, you still have 2 team rounds to go. Like, you do realize you could still win, right? Like, you don't have to just be done and drop it here. And I was like, got on the phone with my mom in the bathroom. I'm like bawling my eyes out in the bathroom. I'm like, shit, man, they're right. Like, I got to get this stuff moving. And so went back out there, ended up winning the night with Jared and Ava on the first Dallas Speed Rolls ever.
Hell yeah.
And then moved on to Houston. And this is where my relationship with the Houston people kind of started to build a little bit more. And so get out there and like pull up, and like I'm texting everybody like in the group chat. I'm talking all that shit. Like, everybody's talking shit. Like, everybody in the group chat was just talking. So we get out there, and we ended up going up first round against Team FAO, which is the bar owners of FAO, which is where the event was. And let me tell you something, those dudes are so knowledgeable, even with just what they've built around the bar and what they've created. Those dudes don't waste any movement in going for a bottle at all. And Casey ended up winning the solo. Casey is on the FAO team, and then Bronson and Adonis are just like, I mean, they ain't even got to compete. They ain't practicing, man. They just work. Like, I mean, they were working in between rounds. So
Home field advantage, I guess, right?
I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily go too deep on home field advantage, but I mean, a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, they just don't waste movement. So they ended up beating us. I mean, we put up a way better time than we did in Dallas, so I'm super happy with that. And then they ended up winning the whole thing. So, I mean, guess we took second place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But also the Austin team, like, definitely came out and popped out, showed out there. Danny, Jonah, Diana, shout out to them. And then from there, like, just meeting the people in Houston, man, is just super great. Hopping around all the places out there and, like, kind of making connections here and there with people is really cool. And from there, I ended up kind of, like, making the connection with Elijah, my buddy, who I'd met out there, and was, like, I'd kind of been waiting to meet him because he's like got this really good mind for mixology, and he's just like so masterful with what he does. Also, the same place I met Nate actually too was at FAO.
Oh, it was. That was the first time I saw you.
That was the first time we met. Yeah, was at FAO that night after they screwed us with the mixing glass. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't set the mixing glass out for us, so we kind of ended up getting dogged on that one. I mean, when you have 2 stirred drinks in like one what would be called a round, and you only have 1 mixing glass for one person to use, it is a little bit difficult for you to double stir or like do. And I mean, well, not that you could have double stirred because of the way the rounds go, but like, I mean, you still have to take everything out, wash it, put it back. Like it's a whole time hassle. Like, but dive into Speed Rails. Go follow Speed Rails on Instagram.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
So believe it or not, man, we've been doing this for 36 minutes. So we are running out of time. If there's any fun story you want to share, now's the time.
Now is the time.
Let's get into it. I know you got a lot of bar experience up into this point. I know you got something cooked up in there.
There's a really fun, crazy story. Man, dude, don't want to murder my reputation out here. I got some crazy ones. Definitely one of the craziest ones was, I guess I got like a really good one. So when I was out in London and spent some really good time out there, it was just so like, I hadn't really drank before. And that's the side of bartending that like, we don't talk about, we just kind of do. Mm-hmm. We just like do it and like, we don't really speak about it, but we get down to the point where like we could drink. And so I was out there and I hadn't really drank before, but them Europeans can drink, bro. So I ended up going out with them that night to like Bali Ballerson, which is where WFA holds World Flair Association competition. And so that was pretty sick to see that place. And we were just hopping around the whole night. And so I went through like, I was with multiple females that night too, but that's just kind of how it goes when you're in London. They love the American accent out there, I guess. But times have changed. I'm a celibate man now.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah?
I'm a proud celibate man now. Great. But I was out there and ended up getting like viciously drunk. And so they're actually carrying me home, a Swedish dude and a dude just from the UK, just from a British guy. They carried me home on the train. So they let me fall asleep on the train. And there's like literally like pictures of me like asleep on the floor of a train. And then as I get off the train, I fall asleep on, this might be the worst one, the escalator, like going up through the train station. And then after the escalator, the way the buses run in London is really difficult. So there's a point in time in the night where one train line stops running, and that train's called the DLR. And then so only buses run. A bus ride is 30 minutes longer than a train ride. So I went from passed out on the train to passed out on the escalator to being carried through the train station. I don't really remember much of any of this.
Wow. To
passed out on the bus for like another 30 minutes to getting home and like waking up and like it was like 9 a.m. and I'm hurting, like really hurting. And that was next day we had like classes and stuff that I had to like, boom, just snap into reality. And I've managed to make that like that's a true testament to what I do now too. Because I mean, we will still, we'll still go out all the time and just like, got to be at work the next day.
That's where bartending hungover, you just get used to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just get used to it.
I've kind of dialed back on it though, especially recently because I'm trying to just like stay locked in and focus more on like the long term.
That's for sure. I drink responsibly. Absolutely.
You also got lucky that the people that were basically chaperoning you were decent human
good
beings,
people for sure.
Because that could have ended really bad for you.
Rob wanted to leave you alone.
Yeah, it could have ended really bad. But yeah, shout out to those dudes, Harry and them. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Jason, Robbie, all those guys. Shout out EBS London. But
I have a quick story to share with you, just talking about bartenders drinking. So I'll try to make it short. Basically, somebody tried to challenge me at drinking, and I just said no comment. And I was like, you just got into town. You should probably eat some food, take a nap. I'll see y'all out later. I'll show you a little bit of the town. I get off work. They're like, oh, no, what? You think we can't hang? I was like, all right, whatever. They'd been drinking with me for about 35 minutes, and she threw up on the bar and got kicked out.
Oh, shit.
Damn, bro, this sounds like a
Let me guess. Y'all was on a rumple. Y'all was on rumple, huh?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Dude,
I'm trying to get away from it, though. But she kept buying them. I was like, don't do that.
Bro, I don't know how y'all do. We gotta talk about that. The rumple, the Fernet, the Malort, as far as industry drinks.
Actually,
I do not know why people do
We still got time. We can talk about
I don't
this.
know why they always ask for it. It's foul. All of them is foul.
Let's please talk about this. Yes. First of all, if we had to do like a ranking list, like of which one's the absolute fucking worst, Malort. Like it's so
for
bad.
sure.
Malort is easily the worst.
Yeah.
Tasted the most like shit, and that's literally it.
Yeah.
And all these people drinking Fernet also tastes like shit.
Yeah, it does. That shit tastes crazy.
Barranca Menta can be decent if you put it into a cocktail. That's all I'm gonna say. But I mean, the rest of them just like literally blow. Like if you give me anything with rumple, I'm giving it back to you.
Hurt my feelings, Cash.
Sorry, man. Can't do it.
Rumple was a crazy one, but low key between rumple, like between those three. Oh my goodness! Like I can't believe I'm saying this. I might have to even say Fournette is the one I would prefer.
If you had
out
to
of those
go,
three.
if you had to go rumple Fournette or like.
Well, Rumple's number one for me. That's just an everyday thing.
So are you putting Malord at the bottom? Too?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
I got put Rumple at the bottom of mine. I would go Fournette, then Malord, then.
Yeah,
Rumple
you know what?
bottom.
I really hate Rumple, and I would take about 6 back-to-backs of Rumple before I take one of Malort 100%. Like, I just can't do it.
Yeah, Malort's pretty fucking bad.
It is.
It's miserable.
All three of them. I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them.
I mean, we can add like Fireball in there too.
I would do Fireball before any of those as well.
Yeah, because that's not whiskey.
I mean, yeah, that's also.
You know what I mean?
It's really not, but it's definitely the most takeable though.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like it's the easiest to shoot.
It's also very like desirable. Everyone's always asking for it, but like at the last bar, I would just that we didn't have any other party shots. Like you know what I mean? We ain't have, Fireball wasn't in there. We didn't have Rumple. Like none of that stuff was in there. We didn't even have melon liqueur over there.
Wait, where's this at?
So that's the last few spots I worked at the Hyatt and even at Zanzi.
There's a bottle of the Jaeger back there.
Probably been there for months too.
Yeah, no one's
been there forever.
I find the difference in like working in different places is like where you may not have the same bottles at a craft space as you would a dive space, but like honestly, if you did have the mix of both at each, you could really make some stuff. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I'm like big on is like I just try and throw shit together sometimes. Like I did the Galliano competition and made a coffee zombie, which is like insane.
And that was dope. That drink was dope. I hope did you get the results back for that yet?
Yeah, I got the results back. I mean, I ended up not winning, but it's just like that's
still a great experience though.
First competition. I mean, it was still pretty cool. Definitely won't be the last.
Do you feel that these competitions that you keep doing, is that what you would recommend for anybody that's getting started in the business to network with other people?
I would say to network with other people. Look, my best advice to a bartender getting started in the industry, and I still feel like I'm getting started myself. Like if I ever say I have a lot, or if I ever say I've learned everything, then I should probably get out of the industry. It's the best advice I can give, seriously, is if you want to become a bartender, reach out to another bartender. Just figure out who the bartender is, reach out to them, and just be like, hey, I want to bartend. And if that bartender like is truly loving what they're doing, like you kind of got to be in the right place too at the right time. But just like go show that that's what you want to do, because that's what I kind of did, and it fell into my hands by like me just going for it so hard. Like I strongly recommend and that's with anything, right? If it's like something you really love or like you really see yourself doing or really want to do, like I say just like go hands in for it. If that's like, let's say you want to bartend, right? If you really want to bartend, go show up to the bar that you've like been looking at the most. Go find out who the manager is and be like, hey, I want to talk to you. And then be ready to bar back to you, because that's a huge part of it, right? Is barbacks definitely do not get enough love, because if it wasn't for the barbacks I've had and been blessed to have, I wouldn't be able to do like 50% of the stuff I'm doing in the bar, because I'd be cleaning the whole time and I wouldn't even get to make some of these drinks. And some of these barbacks end up turning into the best bartenders. I had to bar back for a little bit. I actually really, really started, like, my first service industry job was as a busser at Razoo's. Like, and I absolutely hated it. I wasn't there very long, but I was a busser at Razoo's. And so, like, I feel like it's like a support system thing. To have a bar back, you got to know how the chain works. Because, like, being a bartender and having a bar back, a lot of people will, like, put them one over the other. But, like, I have buddies like Christian, shout out Christian and Jonah and, like, all the Austin people here, too, who have shown me so much love. And Diana and even Nate himself, like, Elijah being the biggest one for sure, because he got me out here and was just like, I need you to come to Austin because it's just so, like, open for you right now. Like, I feel like there's so much opportunity. But it's like, I mean, Christian picked up the phone like a couple weeks ago and he was like, hey, man, like, you want to come bar back for me? Like, I mean, I got 15 minutes to open. And I'm like, dude, like, yeah, I mean, he would do it for me in a heartbeat. Like, we both get it. That's how it is. Like, I'm not going to go in there and be like, oh my gosh, I feel less than him because I'm bar backing. bar backing is a necessary thing that's needed in the bar. And there's been nights where we don't have a bar back, and who do you think has to bar back sometimes? I'll step in there and do it. Like sometimes you got to.
Nate and I know all about that.
Yeah, as a
Yeah,
bartender,
you got to do it, man.
can't never be too good to be a bar back.
Yeah, you can never be too good to be a bar back. And that was something that like a lot of people like also me being 21 and like being at the space I'm in, like I've been blessed to not necessarily avoid bar backing too much, but just like I feel like with the being able to flare and being able to communicate with others so well and just like so passionate about what I'm doing and like really focused and locked in on the bartending part, like I feel like I do have true skill and true talent that I won't over exaggerate to any point, but I haven't had to bar back as much as I should. And I'm super blessed for that. But at the same time, I have done it before. So it's one of those things where like, you can't shit on me if I've done it. Like, and I feel like there is some people out there who like have shit on me for not bar backing as much as I should have.
Facts.
Or like, there's definitely some people there's going to be haters with anything you do.
Of course.
And if your haters are going up, then so are you. I mean, like you're doing something right. If you don't have haters, you're probably not doing anything at all.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, I'd turn around and bar back for him in a heartbeat. I know there's two girls out in Houston, Clarissa and Alexa. Clarissa and Alexa, like, Alexa works everywhere, and Clarissa makes some of the most money that I see a bartender make, and they're both wonderful bartenders. I would go bar back for those girls in a heartbeat because I'm walking out with a fat check at the end of the night, and they do their job good. Like, why would I not want to be a part of that?
Right.
So it's one of those things that, like, yeah, you got to be able to humble yourself to bar back for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's how I started. I was like a busser or bar back at first. And it was tough, man. It was 3 different levels, and you basically had to be on every level all at the same time. It was a grind.
That's the thing. Everybody's come up story is a little bit unique. Kind of like you, Cash. Like, personally, I never had to bar back before I got myself behind the bar. Like, I just found myself in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people, showed enough interest in it. I would just serve her at first. So that was my elevation. I would just serve her first. Directly into bartending, wasn't server, bar back, then bartending. I was able to kind of just like get that promotion because I was in the right spot at the right time, and that's what they needed. You know what I mean? So now being able to take that experience, going right from serving to bartender. Most places, if you have enough experience, more experience than your peers around, you'll be able to just kind of hop right in there as a bartender and kind of skip over that level. But with that being said, it's not really skipping over a level because I promise you, as a bartender, you will have to bar back at some point.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't
Absolutely.
something like bar back and bar, like being
It's
a bartender.
inevitable.
It's mutually exclusive. Like, they're both within the same thing. Like, you have to bar back as a bartender. That's just how it is.
I 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, and if you, I mean, I even watched, like, I follow not just a bartender, Chris. I've also been, like, super blessed to meet him and, like, some other really, like, just, I would say, great people in the industry who do have, like, a good online following. Like, High Proof Preacher is another one that I've, like, met and had a really good conversation with. And, like, these are people that, like, I look forward to hoping to work with. I even just got to work with the Drink Masters this past week from Netflix, like Suzu, Meredith, and Kate. And I mean, they were just super awesome to work with. And I mean, at the end of the day too, man, you got to realize, like, I mean, a lot of these bartenders, like, they're just people. And I mean, that kind of goes with, like, I mean, most of the, like, celebrity, like, fan idolizing stuff, like, I mean, they're just people too. Yeah, I'm sure they make a green tea maybe the same way as I do, like, realistically. So, I mean, you just be cool with them and be friends, and that's, like, kind of it. And, like, it's been really dope, though. Yeah.
Well, guys,
with people.
I think we're going to stop here. But, Cash, great having you on.
Yeah, dude. Actually, before you take me off, I brought a little gift. Brought a little gift for you for having me on the podcast.
Hey,
man.
that's lit. Look at that.
Little, little ranch water flag from one of the liquor reps. One of my homegirls, some of her family invests in ranch riders. So my guy, good spirits. I know you focus on mental health. That's for you, man.
Definitely. I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Thanks for co-hosting, dude.
Absolutely, bro. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah,
Good to have you on here.
Man. I
Definitely.
appreciate you so much, man.
Guys, thank you. You're both welcome back anytime.
But before we end it, Justin, thank you. I just got one last question for you, Cash. One last question. I know the world is dying to hear this one. But missionary or back shots? Which do you prefer?